Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Jakob, right?
One day late, but I learned that my birthday is now within 12 hours of Saquon Barkley's because we're the same age on back-to-back days. So.
Oh, shit. That's cool as hell.
Yeah. Jacob, happy birthday,
in the same
man.
Hospital?
Happy birthday, Jacob.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the belated happy birthday. Appreciate it. I have a nice little bottle of Grey Goose here that my roommate got me. Maybe I'll take a shot out of that later. We'll see.
I think I brought you a bottle right here. I have.
Oh, wow. Here, just hand it over.
Oh, that would be really cool if somehow we did some
Make this guy who doesn't actually drink liquor is happy to hand out the liquor in the cabinet behind him.
Hell yeah. So what'd you do for your birthday last night? Did you get all slammered, or were you a good boy because you had to work today?
Yeah, it was definitely, I had like the lamest birthday of all time. I got to work while it was still dark out because I had a file that set me way behind on Monday. And then I worked all day. Then I came home, I recorded a podcast with Tom and Billy, and then I had to work on a paper for the next 3 hours. So, and then I went to bed. So I'll go ahead and celebrate a little bit on Friday, but my Tuesday celebrations were muted at best.
How long have you been a 47-year-old man?
Just recently.
Just wondering.
Yeah. I mean,
hey,
now that I've joined the world wasted this weekend?
You kids.
Yeah, I'll be drinking this weekend for sure.
He'll be white girl wasted.
White girl wasted. So he's going to be drinking White Claws?
I do love a good White Claw.
White Claw, add some gin
I love
to
a
it.
good White Claw. Shane, don't act like you don't like White Claws.
They're disgusting. I drink men alcohol. I drink, what do you call that?
I can attest to that. I've seen it happen.
Jack Daniels, baby.
Oh. The only one I've seen drunker than Shane is Chase.
Me?
Yeah. You should have seen Chase. He was drunker than me. Chase is the guy you look to and you go, I'm fine. I mean, look at that
guy. Yeah, pretty much. He's not lying.
Chase was ready to take me back to the hotel and have his way with me. I don't know.
Dude, I was thinking about that sober, Bob. What are you talking about? That had nothing to do with the alcohol at that point. All right, we ready to go? We ready to set this off?
Let's get the music going.
Rock.
This is Fantasy Intervention. Now here to intervene with your fantasy life, Shane Manila, Jacob Sanderson, and Chase Vernon.
Woo! It's about that time. We have the Super Bowl upon us. It is the last weekend of football for the 2021 season, and then we gotta wait. We gotta slowly die and wait until we end up working our ways back into football come July, August.
Excuse me. This is Dynasty Intervention. This is the best time of the year. You know how sad I am going on Roto World or whatever the hell they're called now. Edge,
NBC Sports Edge. So the title sponsor of the Fantasy Expo, Shane. You got to know this now.
Them, whatever. They don't sponsor me, screw 'em. You know how sad it is going on there, and there's no fantasy related content. All they're talking about is real football. What? I don't want that. I want fantasy content. Damn it. Anyway,
we're the fantasy content, Shane. People don't have the edge anymore. They gotta watch our sorry asses.
Chase is selling this part of the season short. This is the best time of the year, man. From now until August, best time.
I love this time of the season because in the regular season, like if I ever just need to actually get work done, it's terrifying. I develop like anxiety, especially during the COVID season that we had this year. It's like I'm just trying to tune out of Twitter. I like literally at the point during exams, it's like I deleted the app off my phone. I'm trying to get work done all day. And I like know in the back of my head that 4 different starting running backs have got COVID. A wide receiver just got arrested on a felony charge. There's people all of a sudden just sprained their knee in practice. I'm like, oh my God, what am I missing? I need to reset my lineups. I need to reset my algorithms. now is the best time of year, man. I go to work, I close my app, I check at the end of the day. Oh, look, what happened? Well, a bunch of people had some dumb takes for clicks. That's it.
So if you guys would have let me finish.
No.
None of that. We'll have none of that.
When have we literally ever let you finish?
When you start to besmirch the good name of Dynasty, look, I don't respect many things in life. I don't know if there's God, my children, give or take, ex-wife, whatever. But Dynasty football is the one truism, and you will never besmirch it.
Shane, I was literally going to play off of our intro and say that we slowly die because our livers are pretty much taken over by alcohol and sadness because there's no football to watch on Sundays. However, you will still have us here every single Wednesday because this is Dynasty Intervention. So when you guys are needing some football, you guys are having some withdrawals, we're going to be here for you guys to make sure that we lift up your spirits so you don't drown in a bottle. So
That's a good segue. That was a good segue. We should have let you just speak.
I mean, it could have worked. It could have ended up working out.
When you're sitting there and looking at it.
When you're sitting there and you're looking at it, just like I'm sitting here looking at our special guest, Bob Harris, over here. Now, we had to bring in, of course, for the offseason, we had to bring in one of our favorite guests that we've ever had on the show, Bob Harris. Welcome on in, Bob. What you got going on, man?
The usual stuff. I mean, there is still this one game coming up that we'll probably all be watching, and hopefully it can live up to some of the playoff run that we've seen up to this point. Seems like every week I keep saying, no way can they keep doing this, and then every week they keep doing this. So I'm going to be all in on this, and if I'm disappointed, it'll be okay. It's been a fantastic NFL season, and Shane is right, as he usually is. I'm trying to remember the last time Shane was wrong, and it escapes me. But the Dynasty, this is, I mean, everything dials back a little bit unless you're like, hey, easy now. You kids. Whose dog is that? It woke my dog up. Okay. So anyhow, there came a point where the NFL, realized the benefits of being a 365-day reality show and, turning us all into TMZ like zombies chasing Alvin Kamara, whatever the latest off-field incident might be. And so there's a lot of that. But the Dynasty fun is, you get to sit down, look at all your rosters, see how bad you screwed them up. Oh, my God, what was I thinking on this? And then you can start working on the corrections. I love that part.
That's the thing. Dynasty is like the internal optimism. It's the after the breakup with someone going, it's going to be better next time, my next relationship. It's after, you put down the ice cream, the pint that you just ate at midnight and you go, I'm not going to do that again. Like it's the thinking things are going to be better that, I'm making all these grand plans. I'm putting all this work into it. If things just go to plan, everything's going to go the way I need it. And then
Shane, buddy, is Tinder not working out for you?
And then week 2 comes and you're like, wow, all my plans just got shot to shit.
It sounds like you're in a lot of pain, my guy.
You know which way to swipe, right?
Right, like as you said.
No, you swipe left and then you'll never be hurt.
No, it's pretty much like being a Washington football team fan, except for, you're actually in control. You're actually in control of your,
when you say you're in command,
you're in command. All right, so we got a show sheet put together for you guys. It should be pretty entertaining. We got a little bit of trivia that's regarding the Super Bowl. We have some fun prop bets that we kind of want to talk about, and then we're going to dive into some Dynasty takes because, of course, this is Dynasty Intervention. But the big news is the Super Bowl coming up. So I was sitting there, I was digging through some stats, and I came across some fun ones. So we're going to go ahead and quiz you guys. Now, when it comes to these stats, they're assembled by the points are assembled by DraftKings. So there's 49ers, right? The 49ers actually hold 6 of the 8 highest scores when it comes to individual players putting up fantasy points. That's in the history of the Super Bowl. So Rice has 3 of them. Can you guys name the other 3 players that have those highest scores?
Joe Montana.
Let's see. We have Joe Montana is number 7.
Steve Young.
Steve Young is number 3.
Roger Craig.
Roger Craig. That's it.
I missed a question.
Well, we got it for you, buddy.
Dude, I'm shocked you guys got the Roger Craig one.
What? Roger Craig was
come on.
stud.
1985. But he nailed it. So I put it up on Twitter.
I was like
ago, and
70
nobody
in
said Roger Craig.
1985. It was like
Yeah,
yesterday.
I was -12, and I still got that one right.
Yep. Yeah. Were you actually? What year were you born, Jacob?
I was born in 1997.
Oh my God.
But I still was able to nail Roger Craig after you doubted me.
Okay.
That's why I have this mug right here beside me that says first place Winnipeg Trivia Challenge 2014 presented by the Alzheimer's Society, which is the funniest sponsorship of all time that the Alzheimer's Society would sponsor a trivia competition.
Yeah,
funny.
I don't know how I would feel about that. Let me ask you this
All
real
right.
quick, Jason.
Well, you wouldn't be able to remember for a long. So
Gee, I would never do that. Let me just ask a quick question, though, because Bob's older than all of us somehow. Is Roger Craig like the forerunner of the full 3-down back? Like, is he the Godfather?
He was Marshall Faulk before Marshall Faulk was Marshall Faulk. I mean, the 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. Marshall Faulk took that to a new level, or the next level, pretty much just as an integral part of that offense for the Rams, the greatest show on turf. Also, I mean, he was pretty good in Indy too, but yes, he was that original guy that if you had him, but that was before we played, PPR leagues, right? There was just standard scoring. So you couldn't actually leverage all the receiving goodness that he brought on, but production still mattered, and he far outproduced many other backs of his time.
Dark time in our history.
It was like that was like early. That was pretty early on. I first started playing in 1986, so he was a thing.
It was right before
Wow.
that. He might have been the 101 that following year. So my next question for you guys.
Wait, there was fantasy football in 1986.
There was fantasy football in 1963.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Dude,
What a night!
You need to learn about the history of this game that you love, my friend.
Wow.
All right.
I don't have. I got to be honest. I don't have a single column for 1963 on my spreadsheet.
It's a pretty interesting story. It was like a bunch of guys associated with the Oakland Raiders, the greater.
Yeah.
How can I even say if breakout age is real if I haven't back tested in 1963?
It's a fact.
Go to Encyclopedia Britannica online. Just look it up, my friend.
Okay, is there a yards per route run page in it?
There is not.
No, there was not.
All right, trivia question number 2.
Yeah.
Tom Brady has finished how many times in the top 25
Of what?
for Super Bowl, like Super Bowl points put up, according to DraftKings scoring? How many times has Tom Brady finished in the top 25 of all time?
How about each of us comes up with our own guess here?
I'm
That's
going.
all it is at
I
this
want to
point.
beat these people's asses.
Well,
I'm going to go ahead and say 5.
Okay. See, Bob kind of undercut me because I was going to go with 4, but then that kind of leaves me really no wiggle room.
It's entirely possible you have a 3-piece wiggle room there.
I am going with 4 because Tom Brady actually wasn't very good in a couple of those Super Bowls, even though we like to pretend that he's the greatest thing that ever happened to life.
Well, it was low scoring in the Rams game. It was low scoring in the Eagles game. I think he got there in the Carolina win. He would have got there in the Atlanta win. Not in the Rams win, the second one. He would have got there in the Eagles loss. And I'm trying to think of any other ones where he would have got there. Oh, the Seahawks loss, I don't think so. Or Seahawks win. And then the 2 Giants losses, no. So I'll say 3.
The answer is one time.
Oh, well, I was closest.
He finished 17th in the Eagles loss, and that was his highest scoring one. He had finished at 26, so that was borderline. You can consider that for the Atlanta one. And then you have to go all the way down to 33 for 2015 up against Seattle.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so
They must have
Tom
scored
Brady.
a bunch of rushing touchdowns in 03 or whatever that was, because they put up 32 on Carolina. That's interesting.
Tom Brady just riding the coattails like he always does. Anyway.
All right.
what a
So
loser.
how many times has a pass catcher caught 2 touchdowns in a Super Bowl over the past 10 years?
10 years?
10 years.
10 years. How many times has a pass catcher caught 2 touchdowns in a Super Bowl over the past 10 years?
I need to Google this. Hold on. I don't remember it ever happening, but also have short-term memory loss.
Last 10 years, I don't think it's happened.
Yeah, I'll go once.
Maybe once.
I think James White actually did it.
He's a pass catcher.
I think of Jeffrey. If he had a second one, I know he had the one big one. I'll say 2. I'm gonna overcut these guys. I'll say 2.
Corey Clement. How many did Corey Clement have in the Super Bowl?
Well, I think he had multiple touchdowns, but I think one of them was running.
Now I'm going 3. I'm breaking away from the pack.
It's happened twice.
Yes!
And
Let's go!
Rob Gronkowski's done it both times.
Okay, wow.
No other player's done it over the past 10 years. All right.
Did he do that in a loss against the Eagles?
He did it, against the Buccaneers? Hold on, I don't have that up right now. Give me 1 second. So he has it up against the Eagles. Yep, against the Eagles once.
In a loss, right?
And then up against Kansas City last year.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah,
when he won people a bunch of money that took that that spread. So, all right, you guys want to do one more?
No. Yes.
Yeah, please. I'm winning, and I'm going to continue my domination of these fools.
All right, let's go with how many running backs have finished with over 20 fantasy points in the past 5 seasons?
Okay.
In the Super Bowl. Not in general.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl.
2. But also maybe 3.
We'd love to.
No, because there's Lenny Fournette.
I'm gonna say
Corey Clement.
Why did you send me a Britannica?
It would have been Lynch if they handed the ball off to him, but we don't want to get into that.
I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna say Leonard Fournette against the Chiefs, Damian Williams against the Niners, James White or Corey Clement against the Patriots. And then the James White one is too far back, I guess. So not that one. 17. No one in 18. 19.
I'm going 3. Just pick a number.
3.
Yeah, I also agree with 3. It's unfortunate.
It's 4.
Oh,
Devonta Freeman.
Oh
my gosh.
He hit 20.1. And he was the only one that did not have a receiving touchdown out of those players.
That was less than 5 years ago.
It was exactly 5 years ago.
When they blew that lead. Jesus.
It was exactly 5 years ago.
Oh, so the takeaway from this trivia game has been pay attention to Super Bowl fantasy more so than I have, as I just stare blankly at my DraftKings screen and go, "Where's my money?"
It's tricky, man. There's a whole big twist. So let's go ahead and move on from that and talk about some prop bets real quick. Any kind of bets that you guys normally like to hit, just for fun purposes when it comes to the prop bets, like first one to kiss the trophy or anything like first team to score, anything like that.
I like will someone drop the Super Bowl trophy?
What are the odds with that one?
It's pretty high. Pretty high.
I like will Shane drunk call his ex-wife.
Yeah, I think those are the ones that I'm after. I mean, everything else, like what color the Gatorade is. I don't know any of these people in the halftime show. I'm told they're all very good, but I'm not familiar with their work. Not because I'm old, but because I listen to real music. Fight me. I don't know how many planes in the flyover. I mean, I could think of so many better ways to throw my money away. And I do throw
the first
it
commercial
creatively.
The first commercial is always fun.
I like to bet the over on the national anthem. Look, these people, they're a bunch of freaking divas. Yeah. They want their time in the limelight. And the best part about it is you always think if you're the under, you think you've won because they get to the last note with about 15 seconds left, but then they hold the last note for like 35 seconds and they end up going way over. And the best part about that one is you can get that one right out of the way before you order your food, especially if you're on the West Coast like I am. So I get my DoorDash ready and I have 2 tabs. I have sushi combos and I have sushi party trays. And then if I win the bet, then I get to scroll right down to the party trays and I get to have a big boy sushi with all of my winnings from the over-under.
So I don't know who this Mickey Guyton person is who's singing this anthem, but I'm sure somebody does.
Is it Jalen Guyton?
I don't know, somebody like that. But so somebody who knows him and is looking at the prop bets and says, wow, look at everyone's going to be betting that he's wearing white. dude, wear some gray or something for me. But, I mean, why doesn't that happen? Why is this allowed?
It's a woman, by the way.
Who is it?
I will take the over on it being a woman.
What's her name?
Her name is Mickey Guyton. She's
I
going
don't know.
over.
Due respect, Mickey.
I think she's going over.
She's going over then.
I wish it was Bad Bunny. I would actually root for I would
Really?
like Bad Bunny to read it.
Oh
I don't know
my
any of his
God.
music. I just seen him in wrestling and on beer commercials.
I can't. One over one prop bet that they should have is, to Shane's credit, how many timeouts will Sean McVay try to call in this game, or at what
3.5.
point are they completely out of timeouts?
5. I went 5.
When he throws his 7th challenge flag, what do we do then?
Actually, this is
how many times will he get pulled back to the sideline by his assistant over there?
You can't even challenge that, man.
Here's our weekly segment on you guys get to make fun of Canada for free. In the 2007 Grey Cup game, Doug Barry, head coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, once challenged the challenge, and that's like one of the ways that we lost the game. Is that there was a 3rd and 1 that we, the Blue Bombers, had supposedly stopped the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the Roughriders challenged it, and they won, and it was a 1st down. And Doug Barry was so mad that he challenged the challenge, and I was like 10, and my mom was downstairs. We were watching the game upstairs, and I was reporting back and forth, and I was like, "Mom, we stopped them. Mom, they're challenging. Mom, we didn't stop them. Mom, it's okay. We're challenging the challenge. Mom, it turns out you can't challenge the challenge. Now they have 1st and goal."
Which brings up a really relevant point here. How come the CFL teams all have the cool names and NFL teams don't?
Oh,
Well,
God.
at one time we only had 9 teams, and 2 of them were named the Rough Riders. One of them was the Rough
That's such a
Riders
great
all
name.
in one word, but the other one was 2
Really?
words, and it was Rough Space Riders.
That
Well,
was a thing?
those are
you
very
kidding
different
me?
things.
They're sending
Very
a real
different
different
things.
message there, yes.
Yeah,
But then,
yeah.
and that was Ottawa's, and Ottawa, of course, instead of being the Rough Riders, they were the Rough Riders. But then
Wait,
they ended up going defunct, and now they have a new team, and their team name is the Red Blacks, not the
Wait,
Red
wait a
and
minute.
Blacks, just the Red Blacks.
Don't they still have the Alouettes up there?
Yeah.
That's a horrible name. I have no idea what that means.
And isn't there a Maple
It
Leafs
means
or something? They have
birds.
great names.
No, Maple
Birds?
Leafs is hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
whatever.
Maple Leafs is the country.
Shane,
We
have you
just-
never heard
that's-
the song? Have you never heard the song Alouette?
Never knew
Alouette,
or
Jean
something?
Alouette,
yeah.
Alouette, Jean Plumeret.
I'm
you-
flipping this.
You don't speak like that where I'm from. we would not abide that, young man.
All right, let's get
Abide.
into some actual fantasy football talk. Let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. We don't have to have a direct discussion, but I do want to talk about the better team. I want to see, get y'all's feel for this. Who you all think will really step up in this game? It's going to be a Matt Stafford 3 interception game where he completely chokes, and Sean McVay doesn't adjust to the play calling, just like he did up against New England because he overthinks the whole situation. Meanwhile, Zach Taylor, who, I don't even know how he got there. Well, I know I got there. It's the roster, essentially. Might end up blowing the game entirely, but then Joe Burrow ends up coming back with a cigar, pressed between his lips, ready to chuck a touchdown 90 yards downfield to Jamar Chase. What are y'all's thoughts on the Super Bowl? We're going to start with Bob on this one.
The better team is the Rams, and the Rams are going to lose. That's my thoughts. Just in a nutshell. But I was doing a thing for the Hall of Fame Fantasy League that I was part of this year, like a live stream, and they were running a simulation in the background. And the Zach Taylor in that one is like the Spock with a goatee. He's like the evil Zach Taylor. He's chewing guys out and all pissed off and walking around slapping people around the sidelines. I'm going, where did this Zach Taylor come from? But honestly, they're a little bit ruthless. But I see this kind of like a, following the pattern of the Rams jumping out to a lead and kind of, then doing the Sean McVay like things and falling a little bit behind. And I think in the end, the Bengals will come out and win this football game. Not until Cooper Kupp scores copious points. And Aaron Donald, if the Rams won, I think Aaron Donald will probably be the MVP. If I thought they were going to win, I'd bet that because it's really good odds.
Yeah, that's the biggest fear is that Joe Burrow might actually get planted into the turf between Miller and Aaron Donald, who is just an absolute monster. Yeah, I don't even know how you stop him. I mean, I'm rooting for Cincinnati because I hate Sean McVay because I don't
You
like.
look kind of like him, except thicker in the jowls.
Well, and he's much better looking. So
Yes.
I don't like
I was
anyone.
trying to say that in
yeah.
a nice way. I don't know.
I don't like anyone that's that good looking and then that successful in life. Like I don't like you.
Just
want
because
you
I
to
went on
lose.
camera, you're already talking about me?
It might be a facade. He might be much less successful than you think.
I want him to lose
like
in every big moment. Like I hope he makes it to multiple Super Bowls and never wins one. Because I also think he's a little bit overrated as a head
Is that
coach.
because the Eagles, have made it thus or so far multiple times without ever winning one up until recently?
Yeah, but
The
they won
Eagles-
one now.
The Eagles won
Yeah,
one.
up until recently. That's what I was saying. Like you want him to feel the same pain that you felt.
And
for
actually,
Was that
the
like
Eagles-
even a real win? What like you do when you use it? Oh, I'm sorry. Sure.
And the Eagles, the Eagles won the World Championship in 1960. All right, Chuck
course.
Bednarik.
And
Conquered
Bob
Good friend of
Charlie
mine. I
playing
remember
fantasy
him well.
football back then.
He took the bus to the game. That's how long ago it was. At Franklin Field. Anyway, I do get a look. Sean McVay's very smart, so I'm a little scared of what he's going to put together for 2 weeks against Zach Taylor, who I feel is a little less smart. That frightens me. But I think Cincinnati, if they can keep it within spitting distance, they come back and win. I think they'll take the Rams' best shot. Look, some teams are just destined. I know we don't like to talk about it, but sometimes things just have to break completely right. And it looks like things have. Say Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt last year, they don't end up with Jamar Chase this year. Like it just, it's kismet, man. They're going to win the Super Bowl or get blown out by 40.
I think that's a very real possibility. I mean, we saw what happened last year with the Chiefs and that, offensive line up against, a dominant front seven over there for Tampa Bay. So, Jacob, go ahead. What you got for us? What do you think is going to happen with this game?
Yeah, sorry I had to depart for a second. I popped open a Guinness and it exploded everywhere. And I had to go grab some paper towel and clean up the massacre that just occurred. Anyway, the massacre that just occurred with my Guinness is nothing compared to the massacre that's going to happen in the trenches in the Super Bowl. But the Rams defensive line is just a massive mismatch, I think, with Cincinnati's O-line. I mean, we saw what happened in the Tennessee, where this offense just couldn't create explosive plays down the field, which is what they've been doing when they've been at their most successful, because they just couldn't hold up in protection. And I don't trust Zach Taylor, frankly, to make adjustments. He runs his offense out of 11 personnel, and he really just sticks with that formation. He doesn't do a lot of max protect looks out of 12. He did not do a good enough job, in my opinion, in that Tennessee game, moving the pocket. Maybe he's able to do that with more time, but I just don't trust it. And I think if the Rams can keep the ball in front of them, which I think they're going to be able to do just purely with their pass rush and forcing Burrow to get the ball out quickly, I just don't know if they're going to lose this game if it's death by 1,000 cuts. And I mean, Tennessee should have won that game if Brian Tannehill doesn't throw a boneheaded interception at the end of the game, or if Nick Westbrook freaking hyphen name, whatever he is, just catches the ball and boxes out. I mean, since he's out in round 2, and the difference is that this Rams offense I just trust like a million times more than I ever trusted the Titans offense. So I think the Rams win this one. I think they win it by multiple scores. I think they're much better, and I think that they match up really well against Cincy.
In order for the Bengals to remain close, is Matthew Stafford going to have to throw multiple interceptions or have multiple turnovers, in order to keep this game, somewhat close?
I think we have to see bad Stafford in this one. I just think it's going to be hit and
So
miss.
typical Stafford, you mean?
Well, I'm a Stafford believer, but I do think like the advantage that the Bengals have is at quarterback. I think Burrow's the better quarterback in this game. But I really do think I just think he's going to get blitzed the shit out of. I mean, they have Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd. I mean, they're going to be teeing off on this O-line. I think Burrow's going to get sacked 5+ times in this game. And I just don't think they're going to be able to put up the consistent drives. So yeah, certainly if Stafford gives them some short fields and he's able to do that, and that's a good one there, Dustin. Yes, I am about the same age as Kenny Pickett. I got the Rams, though. But I don't know, man. I mean,
I've just noticed.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe I'm scarred from last year when I picked the Chiefs because I wanted to trust in so the quote unquote better quarterback getting points, but. We'll see. I'm banking on the Rams on this one. I just don't. I can see my heart, and I can see the heart of others wanting to pull for the Bengals, But to me, when I sit there and I look at it, I just think the Rams have the advantages.
Thanks for the callback. Bob, let's dive into some dynasty talk. Like we have these running backs, right? And both running back rooms are very good overall. I wouldn't call them elite by any stretch, but I think that they're both very, very good running backs on each side. We have Joe Mixon, of course, who's locked into a contract for the next couple of years. You have Cam Akers, who is locked into a contract for another couple of years. And then you have like Sony Michel, who could be a free agent, moving forward. We have Henderson, who has 1 year left on his contract. What are we going to see from these running back rooms? Is Joe Mixon going to be a running back that you actually want to, try and acquire, or is he somebody that you're holding on to, or is he somebody that you feel like you should probably move off of following the Super Bowl in dynasty leagues?
No, he's a hold for me. Won't be out there actively hunting for him or anything like that, but I would hold him. It's good offense. He has a great role. So especially if I felt like I was close to contending or in position to continue contending, I don't think I'd move on from that at all. And I don't think the Bengals will either. I mean, I don't think they have much choice. I don't see anyone else. Maybe Chris Evans develops a little bit more into a receiving threat or something, but I just don't see anyone usurping the volume.
Are you a little bit concerned possibly about his, injury history over the past few years, or is this a big enough sample size to see that he can stay healthy and he can stay on the field? Now that the team is good, he actually wants to play.
I'm injury agnostic. I'm cannot wait to draft a bunch of Christian McCaffrey at a discount. So just, everyone can get hurt, and everyone probably will at some point. And hopefully, you get a little bit of good luck. But what I'm chasing is volume almost always, and volume in a quality offense, better still. Yep. So this looks like a quality offense for quite some time going forward. Even, if it's just another year or two for Mixon, I mean, he's not that old, and, and he's had some easy seasons because of the injury. So I'm fine with him. And I think, it seemed to me there was points this season where they were very satisfied to let Joe Mixon win games for them, but they are capable of winning with Joe Burrow. And I think increasingly capable, it seems, with the weapons they're adding around him and his level of confidence, obviously. But I do think, and Joe Burrow talked about it at one point this season, just like, look, I can make plays, but if we're, running the ball well, and I think that's, that's the top of their, list of desired things, desired outcomes is Joe Mixon can drive them to a win and they can play good enough defense. And when they can't, they'll try to make some plays through the air. But I think Mixon's a great play, especially next year and probably beyond.
Shane, how are you feeling about Joe Mixon? Like, what's his trade value line? Like, what would you be willing to give to him if you're a competing team?
I'm not trading for Joe Mixon. I don't trade for 26-year-old running backs. That's folly. I will give you a 2020. I will give you a 2022 first if you will take that. How about that? How's that feel?
What number?
I'll give you the 107.
Okay, I'll tell you to go fuck yourself.
Well, then we can't deal. We can't deal. You're not getting a 2023 first off me. Yeah, no, look, I think he'll be fine next year. And then I think he'll age cliff like most running backs do, and he'll fall apart. I'm not worried about his injury history. I mean, he's actually been relatively healthy, and for a running back, I mean, he's only he had one season where he was really injured. And that was, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't want him to
injured.
Play. Yeah.
That's why I said, like, they weren't winning, so he really didn't want to play.
I don't think they wanted him to play.
Yeah.
There was no.
I don't think they wanted him to play either, right? What
Yeah.
purpose does it serve? Like, go take some extra punishment so that we can lose and go 3-13. Like, who cares?
I'd feel a lot
their way of
better.
telling Zach Taylor that they wanted him to tank without actually offering it, where they messed up with
Right.
Brian Flores and the tanking scandal over there.
I'd like Mixon a lot
Yeah.
more if he was more involved in the receiving game, because then I
Right,
always
it's
have
been-
that to lean on when
been a
as he
mixed
gets
bag
older.
there.
Yeah.
And my issue, that's my issue with Mixon. That's why I'm not like buying. I mean, I'm fine with where Mixon is. This is kind of how I feel about most running backs. Like, the position sucks right now. I mean, you look at it and it's like every running back that you can think of, pretty much other than Jonathan Taylor, either has workload concerns or they have talent concerns, or they have injury concerns, or they have age concerns. Like, and Joe Mixon has a few of those. Yeah, his workload is really good. He gets all the rushing. He does come off the field on too many third downs for me to get like super duper excited. I think that kind of locks him into that mid RB1 range rather than that I'm breaking fantasy football range. And so I'd be more interested in acquiring Mixon, if if the market wasn't what it was. I mean, he might be the second most expensive 2017 running back now, maybe third behind Eckler. But like in a lot of startups, he's going ahead of Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook, who have been consistently ahead of him from that class for a long time.
Is this before or after Alvin Kamara tried to kill a dude?
Even before.
Okay.
So yeah, right. I mean, and that's where Joe Mixon made the right choice, was committing his crimes a long time ago, so that we wouldn't have to worry about it now.
Oh my God.
Wait till the video comes out on Kamara. It might almost rival Mixon's.
Oh my God, dude! Yeah, Kamara's going cruising. But yeah, you know what?
Jacob, at this point,
my issue with Mixon, like I'm not buying him just because he costs too much, and he costs too much for a fair reason. Because if you have Joe Mixon, you're like, man, how many running backs would I rather have than Joe Mixon? Like 5, 6, 7. Like that's not a high number.
That's my list right there. 5.
Right, like he's right in that tier. So, am I buying him? No. If I have him, like I'd consider selling him, but it really depends. Like I have him on a couple of contenders where I'm like, you know what? My team's really freaking good. And if Joe Mixon dies on my roster, like unless someone wants to offer me like 2+ first-round picks, like then I'm just going to keep him and I'll just like take whatever points he gives me and try to win the thing.
See, I'll take a 2023 first and then give me an RB2 and we're done. It's a deal.
Even on a contender?
This is a perfect segue. So on a contender, Jacob,
do you want to win leagues though, or do you want to win trades?
I will win both.
Jacob, you're normally on the other side of this. So let's say Cam Akers in a 2023 first. Jacob, are you pulling?
I would rather have Cam Akers than Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
So Cam Akers.
Dude,
yeah, well, that was going to be my question for Jacob, was which one in a startup draft would you rather have?
You can give me Cam Akers in a 2023 third, and I'll take Cam Akers.
You should just take probably Cam Akers straight up over Joe Mixon.
I would take
and
Cam
then
Akers
immediately trade Cam Akers because he's valued as a top 4 running back, even though I haven't actually seen him do anything to garner that ranking. But yeah.
I mean, I prefer Cam Akers because to me, the risk to Cam Akers versus a Joe Mixon is a risk to floor, right? Like, so what if he doesn't? I mean, to me, like. So we haven't seen it, right? We haven't seen over a prolonged period of time him as the workhorse running back. But I mean, come on, guys. Like he freaking tore his Achilles in the summer. They didn't even shut him down on IR. They immediately inserted him back as a starting running back. I don't know what he has on Sean McVay, but McVay loves this dude. To me, like there just really shouldn't be much doubt that he's going to be their feature running back because they had literally every excuse in the world to not make him their feature running back, and they chose to anyways, even this season. So to me, he's clearly going to be. He's way younger than Mixon. I mean, he's only 22 years old. He's going to be 23 at the start of next season. I think there's a better chance that he plays more on third downs than Joe Mixon because he's had that opportunity and he's had a pretty solid college receiving profile. So is Mixon. It's just never manifested really in the NFL. And you get more years out of it. So to me, the ceiling case on Akers is higher. The value insulation in the case of further injury is a little bit higher because he's younger. And then what the risk is the floor if he just never ends up asserting himself. But me personally, I don't really worry that much about floor. I worry about ceiling. So I'd rather have Akers personally. And I'm okay holding Akers. I'm also okay selling Akers. There's like no running back at all really that I'm not okay selling. Like if you're like, I want to sell this running back, I'd be like, yeah, that's a great idea for you. So I'm fine selling both. But honestly, I'd probably take Akers over Mixon.
That's my next tattoo. Always trade running backs.
Like I'm never comfortable with an offense where they're happy using, as many running backs as they have. And I mean, even today, Sean McVay, hey, Darrell Henderson's back. We're using all 3, right? I mean, it seems like first chance. I do think Cam Akers, being the lead is a desired outcome. Talked to many of the beat writers, even going back to, last year. I mean, that was the hope, and then the injury, and so they're already making good on it. I'll just say the production, and I don't want to read too much into it because he's coming off an Achilles in an amazing amount of time, but the production hasn't been great. He's looked good. He's shown some pop, and I can think of a couple players who wish they hadn't run into him, but that doesn't score me any fantasy points, and I just haven't seen the kind of explosiveness that we've seen. Maybe even, and Sony Michel has been pretty efficient there. We'll see where he ends up going. I think he'll be gone. Yeah. So I'm okay with Akers. I'm just not I'm not enthusiastic, about any team where there's going to be those multiple backs.
See, Bob's a
I don't
pro.
think
Bob
there's,
even
but
knows
what
what's coming
evidence do
up.
we have that the Rams want to use multiple backs? Like, I think this is a load of hooey. Like as long as McVay's been there, they use one back. They had the one season last year where they used multiple for a little while with Malcolm Brown coming on pass downs. But like all through the early years, it was one back. And then this year it was Henderson out of the gate was the only guy. And then when it was Sony, he was the only guy. And then Akers came in and he was the only guy. Like that, who the guy is changes.
Yep.
But this isn't a team that uses situational usage. Like this is a team when they have a guy and he plays all the time.
They haven't had a guy since Gurley though. Akers is not Gurley.
But they had like Akers when Akers last year in the playoffs was playing every snap. And this year, to start the year, Henderson was playing every snap. And then Michel was playing every snap.
Henderson, up until this year too, though, Henderson hadn't shown that he was worth actually getting on the field. And besides getting injured every other time he stepped on the field this year, he was actually good when he had the ball in his hands.
Right, but who cares? Because McVay doesn't care. And McVay doesn't think he's good. I don't think McVay thinks Henderson's any good.
Yeah. I mean, he was the starter until he got hurt, and Sony came in and took his job. So, I mean, I don't know.
Right.
But then
Henderson was healthy and he didn't play.
That's fine. I feel Akers is overvalued anyway. I don't even at his ceiling. I don't see him being a top 5 running back.
So let's go ahead and talk about Sony Michel real quick because Bob brought it up.
Okay.
Does Sony Michel actually stick with the Rams and stick with this team moving forward? Or is Sony Michel ready to move on? Is he ready to go spread his wings and get his starting job, with another team? Bob, how are you feeling about that?
I think he's good. I think he'll move on. I don't think he'll stick around, and they'll have another back there that will play some certain amount of time and ruin Cam Akers to some degree. I mean, you're right. They do it serially. It's not a parallel situation. It's not where they're using multiple backs at a time, but it just seems like, things happen and they end up using more than one back. But for Michel, I mean, the production's been really fantastic, right? I mean, he's earned himself some money. The 5 games before Akers came back, 120, 79, 92, 131, 74. I mean, he was rolling a little bit. I think he's earned a payday. Someone will pay him, probably too much. And he'll be a guy that people overpay for in their fantasy drafts as well.
We're thinking the Falcons?
You think he's a starting running back? You think he's a starting running back next year?
I think if he goes to Atlanta, he will be a semi-starting running back. But in general, He could be. Yes, I mean, I wouldn't dismiss it. There's enough teams that need running backs that he could go somewhere.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike reached out over there for the Miami Dolphins, try to bring in a bigger back, who could handle the workload, because that's the type of system that they run. Is they want 10 backs. They're going to take a beating in a wide zone run scheme. Shane, how are you feeling about Sony Michel? Is he somebody that you might want to acquire in a trade?
I mean, he's
there, but
if he's on a roster and I see him, we're making a deal. He's one of those guys that I'll definitely be like, throw him in, whatever. He started 6 games and he was a top 16 running back 4 times this year. And I'm good with that. I think Atlanta would be perfect for him. Him and Cordell Patterson together would be a fun he'd be like Mike Davis, but good.
Yes, I mean? That's what I was thinking when I said Atlanta. That was like that actual situation over there.
If Miami still doesn't believe in running backs, we got Mike McDaniel, just one, right? Just no.
I don't think Sony can. I don't think Sony can play in a wide zone scheme. I think
he's not built for that scheme.
Running back.
Okay.
Yes, he's not built for that scheme, but they might end up needing some warm bodies over there because Myles Gaskin, Duke Johnson, those guys aren't really built for that scheme either. So if he comes cheap enough, they might take a shot on him. That's why I brought that place up.
But yeah, I mean, I fully expect him to move on. The Rams can't really afford to pay non-essential pieces like Sony Michel. And if I'm him, I'm trying to get the most money I possibly can because this is probably my only free agent contract that I'm ever going to get to sign.
I'm fine with Sony. I mean, I think Sony's a guy at this point, but there's a lot. You're playing running back roulette at a certain point of the draft, right? And the nice thing about Sony is that he is capable of performing all aspects of the running back position. I think of him as like a James Conner or like a Jamal Williams, like these guys who have all-purpose skill sets. They're just professional running backs. They can run the ball, they can handle the workload, they can catch it out of the backfield well enough. They're not necessarily dynamic, but they're not going to fuck up either. They can hold up in pass protection. So where it'll be, I don't know. Totally depends, right? Like Would not surprise me if he ends up in the Jamal Williams category where he's sort of a 1B to a backup, or wouldn't be surprised me if he ends up in like a 50-50, or maybe he runs luck of the draw. He ends up as the starter. I have no idea, but I agree. I think late in the draft, any running back you can plausibly see falling ass backwards into volume, I think is worth a pick because, he's a guy that can handle the workload, right? He's a guy that people can say, oh, you know what? Maybe it's not ideal, but sure, we'll give Sony Michel 20 carries. There's worse things in the world. And if that's going to happen, then you start him at RB2 and you're happy.
So, Bob, like if we're trying to figure out, what we're trying to give up to acquire Sony Michel, let's just say you have a really bad running back room. You have a couple running backs that you don't see, getting the volume, and you need to add in a veteran. So you want to try and throw a late second, early third. What are you thinking over there, Bob?
Honestly, I can't imagine anyone giving me anything I want for him. I mean, once you get out of the second round range, I mean, you're just kind of throwing trash at somebody. I think they're going to ask for something else. I would, coming off that, what Shane mentioned is noteworthy, right? I mean, in the narrow band of stars, he was a top producer. People are going to milk that, and people are going to overpay for it in redraft as well, wherever he winds up. So I would maybe, dangle, probably a third round and see what the counter was, and then probably not pay.
Okay.
So who do you guys have higher? Oh, go ahead, Shane.
No, I was going to say, just like Bob said, like you're going to want a second to move him. Nobody's going to want to give you a second. You'll be like, well, how about I give you a third in Sony for a second? And they'll still be like, no, I still don't want to move a second for Sony.
I agree.
Yeah. So look, he's on your roster. If you want him, like if you're eyeing him up, he's got to be a throw-in on another and a part of a trade. Like he's just another piece where, like if it's the FFPC or something like that, and you're like, oh, we got to even our rosters. Give me Sony.
Running backs who I think might end up with a role. They're probably holds for me anyway, for the reason, that we all know is I've mentioned been playing since 1986. There isn't a season where some back who shouldn't have had a job hasn't won somebody a fantasy title. He's in that barrel. Right. So unless I was in a real bad situation, I wouldn't be looking to move him, I don't think.
Yeah. Who do you guys have higher, Henderson or Sony Michel?
I'd rather have Sony because I know where Henderson's going to be next year, and it's being a number 2 running back. Sony has a wider range of outcomes, so I prefer that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into. Let's talk about some wide receivers over here from the Super Bowl team, right? Because Cooper Kupp is shot up boards, right? He was going in the 4th, 5th, 6th round last year's startup drafts. Now he's going in the top 5 wide receivers, and we see it every single year. Wide receiver has a massive season, and all of a sudden he's a top 3 option, and then he lets you down. We talk about the Michael Thomases of the world. We talk about, DeAndre Hopkins has been a little bit more consistent.
Michael Thomas was like a top 7 wide receiver every season he was ever healthy.
Which is been 2 seasons?
He also had a quarterback seasons. All those seasons.
Yes, he did. That's very true. But let's talk about Cooper Kupp, right, who had a massive season. And now he should be with the same quarterback, moving forward in the same offense with possibly less weapons, with a possibly lesser defense. They are strapped on the salary cap.
Bob Woods is coming back. Odell's going to come back.
Odell's going to resign.
Well, that was going to be my next topic was Odell Beckham and whether or not he resigned. But
okay.
Maybe I should have brought that one up first.
Dude.
So. Actually, I don't know if I think I took it off the show sheet just because I wasn't sure if we would have time. But
is Cooper Kupp going off the board as a top 5 dynasty wide receiver?
Between 5 and 10 usually.
That's a pretty big range, though, between 5 and 10.
Well, 5 and 10 overall. Not 5 and 10 as a dynasty wide receiver. It's 5 and 10 overall.
No. As a dynasty
I see him at 5
receiver.
as a dynasty.
Yeah.
We just did a draft with CBS Sports today with Heath and all those guys, and he was taken like 5th or 6th overall.
Is this a
redraft?
No, It was a startup, quarterback startup.
Wow.
With the
one quarterback though?
One quarterback startup.
This was a redraft?
Well, sure. One quarterback, yeah.
No, startup. What quarterback startup, Shane?
But
Come
these
on.
were redraft analysts.
What? No. They were what? Come on. Shane, stop it.
Anywho, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, I mean, are we like where's Cooper Kupp value for you guys? Like, where do you think Cooper Kupp ends up? Is this somebody that you should try and acquire early in startups, to try and get the best wide receiver available, or are you valuing youth over everything else?
I'm not acquiring Cooper Kupp on the trade market because, he's basically maxed out in terms of his value. He's going into his age 29 season. And so, he's going to be in the depreciation zone. And the best part of those wide receivers is you can sell them now at maximum value, and either they end up falling off a cliff or they just keep performing. And even if they keep performing, you'll just be able to buy them cheaper, like a year from now anyway. But I get it. Like, I think there's a clear top two for me in Dynasty. I think for pretty much everybody else at wide receiver, which is Chase and Jefferson, and you can haggle about the order. And then after that, I don't know, there's like 9 guys that I think are kind of in a similar tier. And it's a mix of the younger guys that we project a little lower, but have the higher long-term outlook, like your AJ Browns and your Metcalfs and your Lambs and your Waddles. And then there's the veterans, the Kupp and the Hill and the Adams. I personally, I'm buying into Kupp being this good in the sense that I think he's fundamentally changed as a receiver. For most of his previous years, he was a zone eater, and he wasn't winning successfully versus man coverage. And this year, you look at his breakdown by route, you look at his success rates versus coverage, his yards per route run. He's crushed man coverage in a way that he hasn't before. I think he's an all-around wide receiver. So to me, I'm pretty comfortable saying that he's in a similar value range as a Devontae Adams or a Tyreek Hill. My issue is I just don't want to really pay up for any of those guys because they're only going to decline in value. So that's more my issue with Kupp is just the cost of acquisition relative to the age. But in terms of like whether he's for real, yeah, I think he's for real.
See, I don't even know if it was, the fact that he couldn't beat man versus Goff not being able to throw in a tight window.
No, he couldn't beat man. Like his success rate versus man coverage has sucked every single year. And this year he became one of the best in the NFL. It's a complete change. He used to be below the 20th percentile versus man every year.
I'd be looking to sell anybody coming off a career best season and see what I can get, right? Always. I just want to just see what's there. But going back, having some clarity on the quarterback, at least for the short-term future, if not the long-term future. I think that's why there's, the debate on Jefferson and Chase. Chase wins easily just because I have a pretty good idea who his quarterback is for the next, decade or whatever, or at least the next 5 years, let's say 4 years. And so, and some of those other guys, Justin Jefferson, I certainly don't. And who knows what direction that goes. And that's part of the equation is looking for some clarity in scheme and quarterbacks, to the degree we can get it. But I don't disagree with Jakob at all. I think Kupp is just eyeball test wise. He looks like he's evolved, just watching him run routes. He's become better and he can do something with the ball after the catch. So I like all that. And despite liking all that a hell of a lot, I'd like to see what I could get for all that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Shane, you're old. Like, are you sitting there thinking that you should go with, old guys yourself or what's up, Shane?
Kids.
No. Why in the fuck would you? No. It's just like dating. The younger, the better. No, Cooper's 29. Look,
you ever need criminal defense help? Just, have my number.
No matter, just like Bob and Jakob said, you're not paying up for a 29-year-old wide receiver. And if you're doing things like that, you might have a successful season in Dynasty, and maybe you'll win a title. Yes, right. Maybe you will. If everything breaks right, you win a title. You don't have to pay for that league for 4 years, which is good because you're going to be shit in that league for 4 years because you keep buying old wide receivers and expecting them to be outliers. That said, yeah, Kupp looked like the best wide receiver that I've probably seen in some time this year. He did look amazing, but I'd sell him for, if I could get, I saw a trade on DLF for AJ Brown in the 2023 first. See you, Kupp.
Well, that's got to be an outlier.
Yeah. Now I did see another trade where someone traded 2 2022 picks for him and Brandon Ayuk. Now I might trade that for him because this 2022 class doesn't really, turn me on like 2023.
Yeah, I kind of like that trade
stuff.
Actually.
Yeah, something like that, I might
I'll
throw
take
body.
Ayuk in the 2022 first by a lot.
That's fine. I'd be like, hey, you want the 109, 110, 111? These are all yours for Kupp. That's 3
okay.
first.
Well, if it's
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
I would totally. You would give me the 2022 109, 110, and 111 for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Congrats, you are the proud owner of my Cooper Kupps. Like I would totally do that.
Make
I have a lot of Kupp.
This is the only draft class I would
all
do
that.
it in, but I think I'd do it in this draft class. All right, so let's talk about Odell Beckham. Oh, Bob, where does Odell Beckham go from here? Does he end up back with the Rams, or is he going to go to a different team to get the bag? Does it depend on him winning the Super Bowl versus not winning the Super Bowl? Is there any kind of determination with that? Do you have any insight on the situation?
It depends on the money. I think he put himself in a position to make some money, right? I mean, he took a deal. All the incentives were team based; they weren't Odell based. I think he would like for that to be more Odell based. Nothing against him, and I don't have a problem with that. I just think he'll go somewhere else, and somebody will pay him, and probably should. There are teams out there that have a desperate need for somebody who can help them, says Patrick Mahomes. He can think of at least one. And I don't know if that's I don't know that that's where he ends up, but there are going to be teams out there that chase that and are willing to pay for it probably more than maybe the Rams. And the Rams are going to be thinking about, wow, we're going to have Robert Woods back, and Van Jefferson, is a piece as well. So yeah, I think he moves on. And I mean, my first spot would be Kansas City, but we'll see.
So with like that situation and everything going on there, it's going to be tough to actually, re-sign him to a decent contract. And Shane, you were saying that he was going to be back. Do you have any doubt in your mind as to that? Or, is this like...
I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, if I'm him, I've already made $100 million, right? But I've also never made $100 million in my life, so I don't know what that's like. Maybe I want more when I've made $100 million.
You want more.
Yeah.
For me.
Bob's been there. Been there.
I'm just taking it, from my perspective, I'm like, hey, just give me the first $100 million. The rest is gravy. Like, I'll play for free if you want me to. But, this is what they do. Like, this is their marketable
Do it for the
skill.
clout. Do it for the clout.
Their marketable
I don't think that Odell is very motivated by money. I think he's motivated by the vibes. I think he re-signs in LA on a very small dollar contract. Personally, I think he re-signs on a similar deal. I think he re-signs 1 year, full of incentives, with LA, and if not with LA, then I think he signs in another similar situation. Like Bob mentioned KC, I could totally see that. I just think Odell got a taste of winning, and he got a taste of playing for a good coach and a good quarterback. And I think he hated his life in Cleveland. And I just can't imagine him signing in some dumpster fire of a team again. Like, I think he'll either stay in LA or he'll chase another winning situation. Because I think that's correct. That's why it just seems like he's having more fun.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's a big part.
I think he'll either end up in the same spot, or he'll end up in a place that has a lot of similar elements to his current spot. And in any of those, I think that you can expect Odell Beckham to be a borderline top 24 wide receiver, and probably provide some spike games for you. I mean, I think he still got it. I mean, you watch him play, you look at some of the stats. I've always been pro Odell, and I think he can still play football for sure. And we've seen it, I think, this year in LA. So.
Well, I mean, that wasn't.
He's exactly the kind of guy I am buying, by the way, in Dynasty. Like every old wide receiver that isn't priced at the top, like those are all the guys I want.
Oh yeah, like Michael Thomas. Anyone wants to trade me him? I'll take.
I draft Michael Thomas in like every fucking league. Like every fucking league, I have Michael Thomas.
Yep. So he wasn't even like that good this year, right? Which was like the bigger thing. Odell, I mean, outside of like one game in
Cleveland, and it wasn't just Baker; it was him too. He was breaking off routes and running whatever he felt like running because he didn't give a shit anymore. I mean, he scored touchdowns.
Yes, but those were scripted towards him because
didn't he just put up 130? What did he just put up?
It was one game that he's had, where he was actually a good player in the recent.
I mean, in the postseason, he's been great. The postseason, 24% target share, 2.5 yards per route run. He's been phenomenal in the postseason. He was a little bit more playing a role, I think, in the regular season. In the postseason, he's been unambiguously awesome.
Well, and there's also the fact. I mean, and he, the regular season, he played like 4 games with them, 5 games with them. Like he's obviously they're getting more comfortable in the offense in using him. Clearly, when they use him on let him throw the ball to, I forget who caught it. Was it Cam Akers that had that reception? Like they're using
Elite
him.
receiving back.
Yeah, they had to integrate him into the offense, even though McVay's offense is falsely thought of as complex. It's still any offense is hard to learn, when you're coming from another team in season.
All right, so in startups, Odell's values kind of dropped, but Van Jefferson, right? He was kind of on the way up. Everybody thought he was a stud. He was getting 7 targets per game. He was doing very well before Odell arrived. Hey, before he arrived, he was getting the target share and everything.
No, he wasn't. He was never getting a target share. He was at a 15% target share.
That's not good.
He was still seeing 7 targets a game, etc. So, I mean, is Van Jefferson actually of value at this point with the possibility of Odell leaving town?
Never.
No.
Fuck no.
The fact that the Rams and I know the Rams are all in, right? But if they had any confidence in Van Jefferson, they would have been like, all right, Van Jefferson, we're going to keep running you out there. Now Robert Woods is gone. Now's your time to shine. No, they said, holy shit, we need to get someone else on this roster so that we do not have to target Van Jefferson. Targets are earned.
He is the next Josh Reynolds. Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
All right, so where's Van Jefferson at this point?
Van Jefferson had a absolutely terrible just absolutely phenomenally bad college profile. He's a million years old. This year, he has a 59.8 PFF grade. That's horrendous. Then if we hop over, keep in mind that in the context that he runs basically 100% of the routes in what is one of the best offenses in the NFL. Because that's how their system rolls, right? If you're one of the top 3 wide receivers, we stay in 11 personnel all day long. You run them all. He's at 17% targets per route run. That's number 93 in the NFL. He is at 1.55 yards per route run, despite seeing a 13 ADOT. That is 70th in the NFL. And his true catch rate is outside of the top 100. His contested catch rate is 16%. That's number 100 in the NFL. He's just not good.
And if Robert Woods hadn't got hurt, would we have seen how much Van Jefferson down the stretch? Less than we did.
Very little.
I just know how to set Jakob off. You just pick a older, receiver coming out of college, and you pick one with a bad athletic profile, and you just let him go to work because he will find a way to besmirch that wide receiver if they're within their first 3 years in the league and don't have a large sample size. He will find a way.
I just get triggered by Van Jefferson. One of these days, I'm gonna him specifically is a trigger point for me. One of these days, I'm gonna get Ben Gretsch on the show where we can only talk about Van Jefferson for an hour. It's just the fact that he plays in a good offense and that he occasionally gets targets, people think that he's good, and he's not good. And it bothers me how that people think this guy's good. He's not good.
All right, so
no, I don't want Van
starting
Jefferson
role next year. Is it going to be Tutu Atwell or Van Jefferson, Jacob?
Well, I think it's neither. I think it's Cop, Odell, and Bobby Trees.
Okay. What if Odell goes somewhere else like the Chiefs?
I don't know. Maybe Van's still starting, and he's still out here being a wind sprinter. I'm not sure.
Who do you like more, Jalen Guyton or Van Jefferson?
Van Jefferson. In fact, it's actually funny that you mentioned this because I literally said someone on Twitter, I forget who it was, but someone was like, Van Jefferson has been better than you think, and I specifically responded with, I said, I post all these stats, and I said, if you run 100% of the routes in a good offense, unless you are Jalen Guyton, Van Jefferson has done the bare minimum. And so, yes, Van Jefferson is better than Jalen Guyton, who is the number 1 wind sprinter in the NFL.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's close this episode out with our Super Bowl predictions. Something hot, something spicy, something out of the ordinary. Shane, if you haven't, prepared yours, we can make sure you're last.
What are you trying to say? I'll just get mine over. Yeah, let me hear what other people say.
Oh, man. Does anybody have one prepared outside of myself?
I desperately want Aaron Donald to be the MVP of this game just to play out the narrative, but I think the Bengals are going to win so he doesn't get the MVP and Joe Burrow does.
It'd be pretty cool if he was the MVP and somehow Cincinnati still won. He had 4 sacks, 2 recovered fumbles, but Cincinnati still wins on an Evan McPherson field goal in the final seconds after a reversed blocked field goal.
And Sean McVay challenges it.
Sean McVay challenges it.
Yeah. No, he challenges a challenge.
Yes, and gets thrown. I think I'd like to see Sean McVay get thrown out of the game. for his blatant use of steroids.
You kind of look like Sean McVay. Has anybody ever told you that? You guys have the same beard trim. You got a similar haircut. It's a little bit longer. You kind of look like Sean McVay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna start telling everybody we got Sean McVay on the podcast with us.
Do it.
All three of the Rams, much discussed, all-in moves, that being Odell Beckham, Matthew Stafford, and Von Miller, all score a touchdown in this game. And Von Miller, with a defensive touchdown and multiple sacks, wins the Super Bowl MVP.
Dude, you just took mine. You just took you took part.
You know he didn't read the show sheet, so don't
I
get
didn't
mad.
put it on the show sheet. I know. No,
Well, then you can't blame me if you didn't even put it on the show sheet.
The last defensive MVP for the Super Bowl was Von Miller. And I was going to say he repeats as the second defensive MVP over the past two, and ends up creating a whirlwind of sacks back there. But I'll go with the one that I gave you guys an example of, and that's Cooper Kupp becomes the second player over the past 10 years to score 2 touchdowns, the first wide receiver to score 2 receiving touchdowns in this matchup. And
that was
completely
mine, but you
destroys
told
Bengals.
us not to say that in the show sheet. Thanks.
God, he's so right. He's so right. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. No, at least
That's
we're on
my
the same
prop.
page.
One in the first half, one in the second half. I'm in on
Oh,
that.
really?
Nice, I love it.
Oh, I love that.
I like
That's
it.
actually a good one. All right, let's let everybody know where to find all of us. Bob, we'll start out with you.
I'm right here, man. Oh,
I'm right here.
on Twitter at Football Diehard, on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, and at footballdiehards.com. Go there.
All right, Jacob, what you got, man?
Yeah, man, find me on Twitter, FF_RTDB. Haven't been writing in a little bit as I'm getting worked in with the new job and enjoying the off-season. But I got a few stuff in the works, and you'll be able to find a lot of my off-season content on playerprofiler.com. And, of course, always on Twitter, like I said, FF_RTDB. And on the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast on Tuesdays with Billy and Tom.
All right, Shane.
That Shane is the worst on the Twitters. Dynasty Trades HQ, Dynasty Trades in 5. Check out writing, working on the DLF 2022 Dynasty Draft Guide. So look for that to drop sometime next month.
And I'm just going to go ahead and stick with one. I'm not going to unload like I normally do. We're going to go subscribe on youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Once again, that's youtube.com/fantasy intervention. There might be a point where we take our shows off Twitter and it's just going to be YouTube. Make sure you guys go subscribe over there, youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you all for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life. We're out.